Hey guys and girls, welcome back to another exciting episode of All About You. In today's segment, I am going to go over the AC Invitational Winners deck list. The deck that I used to win $4,000. It was a long event, 241 players attended, so people did come to play and try to win some money. Fortunately, I was able to go 8-0. I went undefeated day one, and then day two, I won the event. So it was pretty nice and clean. I only went to game 3 twice in the entire event. So it was pretty good. I had some good competition. It wasn't easy, guys. Even if I made it look easy, it wasn't. Certain matchups were not favorable. It's just I had to play around certain aspects and hope for the best for the most part. But anyways, guys, before I start this video, I want to give a shout out to my sponsor team, FOE, with Eddie St. Hilaire. These guys are amazing. So we all kind of join together. They have like a goal, and that goal is like family over everything. And it's essentially just a group of people that want to make sure they take care of their players and take care of their family. And they want to show respect to the community. So right now, as I'm talking to you guys, we're trying to give you guys the best content we can. So you're going to expect this on the All About You channel, but you're going to see it on the FOE with Eddie Hilaire. And before that, I also want to talk about some of the sleeves and merch that will be going on. I will be wearing some team shirts, team jerseys soon. Once I have mine in, you guys will see me rock down on the channel. So that's going to be something cool to see. And also the sleeves. They have prism sleeves, which are really beautiful, and I will showcase them in future videos. So that's something to look out for. Very nice sleeves, and it makes everything foil, which is pretty cool. So even cards that don't come foil, you can rock with them. So guys and girls, without further ado, let's jump into the profile. I played the Broly, Yellow Broly leader. You guys already know, when he attacks, you could take a life and draw a card. When you have 4 or less life, you can use his Awaken skill, which can restand up to 2 of your energy. Once you awaken to this Tyrant, he has 3 major effects. The first effect is he can rest mode one of your guys. It's an active main ability. He also, when he attacks, you draw a card. And last but not least, is another active main ability where you can take a life and you can restand any card on the board, including your leader, which is very helpful when you're going in for pushes, or when you're trying to apply pressure, or when you're trying to recover some of your hand size. You can use your life as an asset while being able to put pressure on your opponent. So to start off, we're going to go through the World Martial Arts Tournament package, which I think is very important. We run 4 Master Shen Martial Meister. Very good. You need his counterpart. For 1, he has Barrier, and when you have his counterpart, which is the Roshi, you can draw 1 card per card. So for each one of them, you draw a card off of them. So the way it works is, if I have both of them in play, I would activate his skill. His skill taps this guy, his skill taps this guy, and you both draw a card. So you literally draw a card off of these 2 guys, which is very useful. And it's effective because your opponent really can't get rid of them since they have Barrier. Very few cards interact with the Barrier mechanic. The last portion of our World Martial Arts Tournament cards is Mutaito's Skill of a Sage. Very important, very strong card. He's pretty much what was necessary in order to combat heightened mastery and a lot of bomb threats in the game. So simply put, he goes over deflect. Counterplay, you just play him. So you're not affecting your opponent in any way. Then when he's in play, you can target one of your opponent's battle cards. That battle card, if it happens to be an energy cost greater than what your opponent has in their energy area, you can put them in rest mode, ignoring Barrier, and they cannot restand until the start of their next turn. So it becomes a time magic, which is very good because yellow is pretty much known for stopping our opponent from advancing. Now we're going to go over the super combos. I did a 3-1 split. I ran 3 Jockos, full surveillance Jocko. It's just your standard super combo. When you have 4 or less life, you have 10k shield essentially, and you draw a card. And then we have the broken Shugesh. I only decided to run 1. I'm going to be honest. The reason why I played 1 over, let's say, none is because I had only 3 of these foil. Guys and girls, I'm a foil head, so sometimes that does give me a little influence on what I want to play. But I always let you guys know in advance, especially on my Patreon, why I'm making certain decisions. Some of them are for fun, while some of them are calculated. This one was more a little bit for fun since I didn't have everything foil. And as we all know, Shugesh is one of the most broken cards in the game. You can pretty much when you use it, you can bring out a Saiyan, 3 costs or less from your hand onto the board. Our main target is Path to Greatness, which we will cover. And we have a few other Saiyans that it wouldn't be terrible to bring out as well. Now we're going to go over our swap package. We have 3, Adopted Father-Son Gohan. He is very good. For 1, he's a blocker. 2, he can swap 2, so you can swap into any of your 2 drops. And it's just great because you're paying 1 energy. He only costs 1 energy to play, and you can swap into a 2 drop. So he basically nets value. And these are his targets. I run 4 Dependable Dynasty Son Goku. So I literally play him on turn 1. I can swap right into a Goku and start attacking my opponent with a 15k beat stick that early, which is very effective. Now this Goku has an additional ability, which is very good. You can pay 2 yellow and I can swap into a 3 drop. That of course meets the requirements. Now the other second target we run for Grandpa Gohan is Gine Hero to support. I noticed a lot of players weren't running this at these events. I guess some people thought it wasn't good enough, but for Broly being a yellow leader, since we are running that, she's very effective. When you attack or combo with this card, you can mill up to 3 cards from the top of your deck if your leader is yellow. That's very helpful. You know, we're playing a sparking deck that tries to get out big threats, and we need at least 7 cards in our drop area to execute our game plan. So essentially, having this allows you to conserve hand without having to be wasteful, which is how I used it in the tournament. And you can see the finals match where I really flex with her. Now, moving forward, we run 3 Son Goku, Path to Greatness. Very good card. And this is the 2 drop that swaps into him. So for 1, he has Barrier. He has Swap 8, Sparking 7. So again, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, Sparking 7 is very important in order to bring our big threats. You pay 4 yellow and you go right into this monster, which he is a bomb. This is our win con. And as you can see, I have 3 SPRs and 1 regular. I actually have the whole playset that way, but originally when I was playing the deck, I only had 3 with me, and my intention was just to run 3 Heightened Masteries until I kept test playing, and I was like, you know what, let me make it safe and run 4. 4 is essential, so you can see the card more often since we don't have a way to search. So guys and girls, when this guy comes into play, you draw a card and you rest one of your opponent's battle cards if I haven't covered that. And then when you use his sparking effect, you swap into this monster, which he taps down up to 3 cards on your opponent's board, battle cards or energy, ignoring barrier. And the best part about him is that he has deflect, and then he has a ridiculous triple strike with dual attack. That's just monstrous. So this guy, I win games a lot of the times with him alone. Now I'm gonna tell you a little fun note. The High-End Mastery, this one, he actually won me the finals. I ended up drawing him against my opponent after my opponent Gogeta'd me. And I drew this one in particular, and I won't lie, this one in particular came up often. I don't know why he did, but it was like the power of friendship. It was some Yu-Gi-Oh shenanigans where I kept drawing that one Heightened Mastery over all the other ones, and that one was the one that was putting in work. So it was pretty awesome just to have one of my friend's cards actually put in a lot of damage in the event. Now, going to the last piece of the puzzle and the most expensive card in the game is our Son Goku, the Awakened Power, aka Victory Strike. Now, as you guys can see, it's signed by Dalen Mack, very good friend of mine, and he is a popular person. He is a football player and has been doing very good, and now he's in the Ravens. So that's just some fun facts. This card is your win con, it's an additional win con. You pretty much win your games once you drop them. So essentially you EX evolve over your Heightened Mastery. You have to chuck a Universe 7 card, which is great because the swap mechanic, when you swap him out for this guy, you basically get this back to your hand. Then from here, you can pay 1 energy, overlay right on top, and discard the same card that you just swapped. So that's something that you do. You don't have to worry about having an additional Universe 7 card in your hand because all it requires is 1. Now, for 1, his effect cannot be negated, so you cannot CBL him or you cannot God Strike, Victory Strike. So that's a fun fact. If anyone tries to do it on you, you know you don't have to, you know you don't go for that BS. Now, Victory Strike simply means if he ever hits your opponent's life, they lose the game. So if they ever take damage, they just lose, which is very strong. And that's why, I decided to run this card. Moving forward, we run 4 Successors of Hope. We're going to go through our extra card package. This card searches for the good portion of this deck. As you can see, an overview. you're going to be able to see how many cards we search for. So for one, I can search for my dependable son, Dynasty Goku. I can search for Grandpa Gohan. I can search for my path to greatness. And it's just very versatile. So you can see so many search targets. This card is always live in the deck at 4. And it allows us to skim without having to run 4 Path to Greatness, because essentially we run 7. If I ever need Path to Greatness, I can treat that card as a Path to Greatness in the deck. Then moving forward, we run 4 CBLs. Now, of course, CBL is one of the strongest cards in the game and one of the most interactive ones. When our opponent tries to play something, counterplay, you can negate the effect text of that battle card. What's great about this card is that if they try to add any extra abilities on their card, like a double strike, you still negate it. If your opponent forgets that they've been CBL'd, which happened in one of my matches in Swiss, they go all in with trying to hit you with a double strike when you're at 2 life, you just simply, take 1. You're like, okay, man, you comboed a lot. Can't out combo you, I'll just take 1 damage. Now, last but not least, in our extra card package is 4 Time Magic. This is another card that I went back and forth with. I was running 3, then 4, and I settled on 4 because of the format. The current format is about getting boss monsters, especially against Shenron Gogeta. They will try to scoop you up and give their guy triple attack. Time Magic basically says, sit down, boy, you're not going to be able to attack anymore, which is very effective. And it's something that you got to keep in mind. And it's a Sparky negate. If you have 5 cards in your drop area, you can just use it by taking a life, which is very helpful. Now, note, you have to designate the card you want to pin down. If you forget to designate it, your opponent could still reach stand their battle card. So just always remember, you have to be very verbal in the game and communicate with your opponent. I ran 2 Mirror, Creator, Absorb, one of the strongest Overwhelm cards in the game, even more impressive in decks that focus on Overwhelm. So this guy, when he comes into play, for 1, he has Deflect. He only costs 1 energy. You just need 4 cards in your drop area. When he attacks, okay, he gains equal 5k for every card in your warp area, which is insane. But because we run the Broly leader, which is a phenomenal leader, we can attack with him. Doesn't matter how many cards we have in our warp area. Then we can use Broly's skill, take a life, restand him, and then go in for another attack. And when we go in for another attack, his auto activates again, and now you add on an additional, you basically double the amount that you have in your warp area. So from hitting anywhere from 100k, you just multiply that, which is insane. So very good with the Broly leader, but of course, his main effect that you want to use in order to drop your opponent's hand and for him to stay on board is through running the other type of decks. So that's always something to keep in mind. But in Broly, he's very strong. He's stronger than your typical average Overarm card. Last but not least, we run our 2 Hidden Power E Supreme Kai. This is our double strike, but you have to announce it, ladies and gentlemen. There have been many times that players are, complain that either their opponent didn't announce it or that you were basically assumed that you were giving your card double strike, which is not a good thing. You never assume anything. You have to be very verbal when you use cards like this. Now, another fun fact, Mirror wasn't in my top cut performance. I didn't write Mirror in my deck list. I made an error. I thought I had it in my deck list, and I ended up writing 48 cards instead of my 50 card deck. So in top cut, I couldn't even use this other win con. So, it's just shows you that as long as you have enough practice and you dedicate yourself enough to something that you enjoy, you can still perform even with a handicap. A lot of people try to call me out on that, but the reality is I actually won the event with the handicap. Now, let's go into the sideboard. Our sideboard, we start off with running 1 Toki Time Creator. Very good card. She allows you to search for your 3K battle cards, essentially the staples that are good against a certain matchups, which we're going to go right through them. And in order to use her effect, and mind you, she has Deflect. In order to use her effect, you have to put her on top of your deck, and then you search for your deck for the card. We run No Escape Son Goku. So he works for those cards that try to bounce back battle cards from their hand, right from the board right back to their hand, and do a lot of swap shenanigans without actually having the keyword swap. So his ability allows you to just nullify for both players' side of the board. You can't put in play battle cards from your board to your hand. You can't do any of that. So no skills will activate with that consensus. Then we go with our 2 Time Control Konoha. She is mainly there for Shugesh. We all know the truth of this card. It's just there for Shugesh, and it is what it is. That's why we only run this bad boy at 1. We have him foil, and we don't want to clog up our deck with a card that could become useless if our opponent drops her on the board. 2 minus Killy Zone. That card I used only a couple of times all weekend. When I used it, it mattered. Believe it or not, there were certain matchups that if I didn't have it, I may have not won because my opponent had the outs and answers. My opponent would either have this guy, which if they have him in your hand and you minus Killy Zone, they can't use him, or they had CBL or some type of counterplay card, which was very important in this event. Then I had 2 bad rings. Fun fact, the bad rings were actually forced to be main board. I had to choose a card from 2 cards from my sideboard and add them to my main board. I ended up going with 2 bad rings instead of having the mirrors in my deck. So for a top cut, I actually had bad ring main board. But for Swiss rounds, it was in the sideboard. Bad ring, I kid you not, did nothing all weekend. It's a good card when you're going to put your opponent in game range and close out the match. But outside of that, you really don't need it. Unless you're going to get a really big advantage or you're playing against Mill at the right time, which I can kid you not, against my Mill matchup in top 8, my opponent milled out my bad rings. There was a game that I almost lost that had I had bad ring, I would have guaranteed won. But I was doing all I could to try to find it, and I couldn't find it. The guy didn't even mill 1 out, and my deck was very low, and in my life, I didn't even have it in my life. So that's just a fun fact. I ran 2 of our Bardock Fully Unleashed. He's good for the Green Broly matchup or any deck that brings out huge threats and that stick on board. We ran 2 King Piccolo, Limitless Power. Very good for any of the New World Martial Arts decks, mainly the Oob deck that I see flying around. And of course, I actually added him in one of my matches where I KO'd my own battle cards. I KO'd my own Master Roshi Shen combination after I used them to draw cards. And during that game, I played mirror. My opponent calculated the mirror. He did not calculate that. It just came out of nowhere, and I gamed him with a double strike. So it was a classy play that I made. And my opponent really talked about that game. He really enjoyed our match because he just didn't see it coming and he thought I played it very well, which in that game I did. And then last but not least, Tien Shenhan. Tien! So, you know, this guy, he's good against blue. And any deck that wants to restand energy, as you guys know, when he comes into play, your opponent cannot untap any of their energy. So that's very important because if they have Sensu Bean or Dimension Magics for those blue matchups, they can't untap any energy, which just makes Tien a huge powerhouse, and then his cost is reduced by 3. So if you're playing against blue, you reduce his cost by 3. He comes out, he becomes a one energy 15k. He essentially becomes what my deck does, the 1-2 swap engine. He becomes a Grandpa Gohan into a 15k beat stick that literally says your opponent can't untap. So that's why we run him in the deck. This deck was very well constructed. It took some time for me to get the ratios how I wanted. Through playtesting, ladies and gentlemen. I do my own playtesting, I do my own homework. Guys and girls, if you are interested in having an edge in competition and you want to take your game to the next level, you can join my Patreon, which I will have this video up on my YouTube channel eventually within like a couple of days after you've seen it on my Teams page or Teams channel. So if you have any information, you'll just follow the link when I upload it to this channel and you will reap the benefits. There are a lot of tier options for you guys and girls. You pick whatever is best for you. But anyways, everyone, thank you for the love and support. The tournament was very competitive. We had 241 players show up for a 10 grand event, and I walked away with $4,000. There are going to be bigger and better tournaments coming on in the future. We just have to hope that Bandai, just continues supporting the game that we love and enjoy. Thank you all for watching, and as always, this channel is all about you.